Welcome into the Oh Health Yeah podcast, brought to you by Healthy is Wellness. As you all know, our mission is to empower you to take control of your health and elicit a little bit of curiosity in your life when it comes to the world of wellness. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you have loved ones or friends that you think would benefit from this, share it with them. Let's get this thing going. Welcome in, Healthy is Wellness family. Welcome to another episode of the Oh Health Yeah podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something very near and dear to our hearts. We're going to be talking about how does Healthy is Wellness define health? If you look up health, there's tons of different ways that people define it. What we want to talk about today is how do most people define health? First off, key things that we believe we should measure when it comes to the world of health. And then the third thing will be, how does HIW define health? That's something that's near and dear to our hearts. Starting this off, we're going to talk about how most people define health. Wherever you're listening to this, whether you're in a car, whether you're sitting in front of your TV, think about, when you think of health, what do people think of? And I would almost guarantee that the majority of people, the first thing that they're going to say is the scale or weight. The majority of individuals define their health based off of whether the scale goes up or the scale goes down. And that's not something that we believe is necessarily beneficial. Can it be a goal that people have? Absolutely. But is it the best way to define health? Absolutely not. We see tons of individuals on a monthly basis that come in to see us. Their weight may have gone down on the scale, but they may not be the healthiest versions of themselves, whether their mental health is lacking, whether they're losing muscle mass. There's so many other things. So we don't believe that the scale is one of the best ways to measure health. The second thing that we don't believe is the best way to measure health is the mirror. So many people look in the mirror and they define their health based off of the way that they look. Do I look thinner? Do I look more muscular? Do I have a thinner waist? So many people think that's the way to assess health. We do not believe that. We don't think that aesthetics are everything. And the third thing, and this is specifically the doctors and a lot of primary care practices, how do they define health? They define health based off of your BMI. What is your BMI? Which all that looks at is how tall you are versus how much you weigh. So me, for example, my BMI is extremely high because I'm short in stature and relatively stocky. So that BMI metric is not a beneficial way to assess health or measure health or dictate success when it comes to the world of health. At Healthy is Wellness, there's some key things that we believe we should measure to assess health. First thing that I'll bring up, grip strength. If you have ever been in to see us, every single time you come in to see us, we're going to assess your grip strength. Reason being, grip is not just a measurement of how strong you are, but also how the neurons in your brain are firing to tell your hand when to squeeze and how hard to squeeze. It's the same reason that if you've ever been around anybody that's developed Parkinson's, the first place they show it is their fingertips. They begin to shake. It's because there's so many nerve endings that go directly from the brain to the hand. So one of the key things that we believe we should measure at Healthy is Wellness when it comes to health is grip. We don't just care how strong you are, but we care how the neurons in your brain are firing to tell your hand when to squeeze and how hard to squeeze. The second thing that we love to measure at Healthy is energy levels. And we don't have a graph that measures this. We don't have a machine that measures this, but this is where the in-person interaction with our coaches comes into play. We want to know if your energy levels are getting better because we know those things play into your quality of life. If your energy levels are high, you're able to do the things you love, you're able to play with your kids, take your dogs for walks. We know that energy levels are a great way to assess overall health. So that's something that we talk to our clients about. Third thing that we like to measure is sleep quality, specifically. Sleep quality is a huge measurement and metric to track because it quantifies so much of health. If you're sleeping well, odds are you're probably doing the correct amount of activity, you're getting some form of sun exposure to tell your body to go to rest, and you're de-stressed. So sleep quality can be a great thing to measure. And then the fourth thing that I have that we like to measure when it comes to health is chronic health metrics or markers. Things like visceral fat and inflammation specifically. We utilize the InBody 770 to be able to quantify those things, and we do not believe those metrics define your health, but being able to track where your visceral fat goes and where your inflammation goes over a prolonged period of time can be a great indicator when it comes to overall health and wellness outcomes and risk factors. Visceral fat specifically, if that number continues to go up, visceral fat, for definition purposes, the fat around the organs is stuff you can't touch or feel. It's actually inside the belly. If that number goes up or over a prolonged period of time, it shows us that your risk levels for chronic disease are increasing. The same can be said for inflammation. With inflammation, what we're looking at is this ratio of extracellular water divided by total body water. What that really shows us is your body fighting to heal something? The in-body captures that metric as well, and the reason that we like to look at that is because acute inflammation, or inflammation that lasts a very short amount of time, can be extremely beneficial for the body. That inflammation can come from exercise, it can come from being in the sun for a little bit, it can come from sauna or cold plunge. Little stress can be great for the body, but when we have clients that have chronic inflammation, where that inflammation lasts over a prolonged period of time, we know that something is going on within the body that they are trying to heal. So that's the reason that we like inflammation, to be able to assess health. So the 4 things that I pointed out there that we like to measure when it comes to health: grip strength, energy levels, sleep, and chronic health markers, which include visceral fat and inflammation. Those 2 metrics are the only 2 that I just said that are even a part of our body composition machine. And we know that they do not define your health, but it gives us a snapshot of if the things that you are doing within your health are decreasing your risk levels when it comes to chronic disease. The main point of this episode is to talk about how healthy is wellness defines health. And I kind of mentioned that in the ways that we measure things, but our definition of health is one's ability to be present in any moment they're in. And we believe that healthy is a verb. It's something you do, not something you are. So many people come in to see us and they say, Gus, I'm going to be healthy when I'm X amount of pounds. Or Gus, I'm going to be healthy when I have 6-pack abs. What we aim to do is reframe the way that people view health. We want people to understand that health is a verb. It's something that's ever changing, and it's not always the same. I'll use the example of myself. When I was playing college football, health for me was working out 5 days a week, running routes, trying to catch football, sometimes succeeding, sometimes not. But I was so dialed in exercising and nutrition. Fast forward to today, I'm a father of 4 kids. My youngest son is 4 months old. Health for me right now is trying to exercise maybe once or twice a week, walking, and trying to sleep as much as I can. So health is always changing, and it's truly a verb. It's something you do, not something you are. That's the same reason that our business is based around continued interaction with clients throughout the course of their life. Health for one individual at one point of their life is completely different than what it is in another. And if we view health as only a state, when you reach that state, what is there? So many people say, when I reach X amount of pounds, I'm going to be healthy. How do we help people realize that health is a verb and something that's ever changing? Zach, do you have anything to add on that? I know that you talk a lot about health as a verb and all the things that we believe. What are your thoughts on the way that we define health, healthy is?
Well, first of all, tell the people where you played college football at. I feel like if people from across the country that are listening to this want to know.
Little Rocky Mountain College, NAI school here in Billings, Montana. That's actually where I met the founder of Healthy Is, so that's where my roots with Healthy Is started.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And you played what position?
Little slot receiver action in college. High school, I was quarterback.
Gotcha. Was it hard for you to switch from quarterback to slot?
Wasn't bad.
Were you willing to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anything for the team, man.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's talk about what we're talking about.
What does health mean to you?
I think it's interesting how much you've changed just since I met you. I think 3 years ago now, you were working out 5-6 days a week. So before Oaken was born, I guess before you and Kenny had gotten together, you were still working out pretty regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think having kids reframed my belief of health, which is also why I believe it's a verb. Like, having kids made me realize that my priority was my children and being able to be with my children long into life. When I am 80, 90 years old, if I'm able to walk my son out and help him shoot a cow elk, that's going to be the number one thing in my life. And health is ever changing because of that.
When I'm really glad that you have that philosophy and perspective now, but I'd have to challenge you and ask, like, there's no way that happened immediately, right? So, like, right after Oaken was born and you weren't able to get the workouts, was it frustrating?
It's definitely frustrating, and it's about reframing the way that you view it.
I think it takes some time.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that really stuck with me was taking 30 minutes for yourself to go exercise is not a selfish act when that 30 minutes could add longevity to your life at the end of your life to be able to be with your kids. So it definitely took some reframing for me to where gush off had to be gush off without working out every single day. But
It was a part of your identity back then.
yes.
Like,
Yep.
but that's the thing we're talking about is it's fluid. It's not linear.
Exactly.
It ebbs and flows, right?
Yep, and that's just the exercise aspect of things too. Like, the exercise was important to me at that point, but now the time has gone on. The exercise is still something I prioritize, but also my relationship with my kids, my nutrition, my sleep. You kind of pull different levers, and I think that's why we also like to talk about those 4 pillars: sleep, stress, activity, and nutrition, because there's gonna be times in your life where your activity cannot be there. So how can you pull these other 3 levers to allow you to still optimize your health, take control, and those different actions come back to the idea of a verb. Like, these little levers that you're pulling are also verbs, and that's the way that we define health.
Okay. So if we had somebody that's listening right now, let's just use the example of nutrition is completely and utterly out of their hands.
Mhm.
They're on a GI tube in the hospital, something like that, where like they're on like a medically managed plan where they're not even in control of the nutrition, not a control of the quantity, quality, nothing. What would you tell someone that's going through something like that to help them feel in control of their health when one of those 4 pillars, 25% of their health, for the most part, is out of their hands?
Mhm. I think my mind goes to, you and I have had this conversation, controlling the controllables and seeing what levers individuals can pull. In that instance, somebody going through that, obviously nutrition is not a choice. Activity might not even be a choice, but we have little things like breath or gratitude or stress reduction things, or even sleep. How do we optimize your sleep when you are able to rest? So in my mind, when nutrition's pulled out of the picture, it's what things can we pull to allow you to find control, because we know control gives people joy. It allows people to still feel successful. And even what you just said about nutrition, going into the holidays, November, December, we're about to hit Halloween, we're about to hit Thanksgiving, we're about to hit Christmas. I think the majority of us, all of you listening to this, are probably going to indulge in some sweets or some alcohol, one or the other. And the more that you can optimize sleep, stress, activity throughout that journey, the better off you're going to be.
I think it's really important with what you just said to people. I want to help people understand that they first of all they don't need to compensate for enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy time with your family, enjoy Halloween candy with your kids, and that doesn't mean you need to go run a marathon to burn it off.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be this guilt associated with it.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
There's so many benefits that come from those holidays that do not show up on an in-body body composition machine, on a grip strength assessment, on any of those things. And it's because mental health is one of the most important aspects of health. And the Halloween candy with my kids is going to be so beneficial for me to indulge in that with my son for the first time, or the Thanksgiving dinner where you're sitting with your grandparents or your family and indulging maybe in a Coors Light. Those things are so beneficial for your mental health. And that's also why at the beginning of this, I said scale, mirror, and BMI are 3 things that you shouldn't necessarily use to define your health, because none of those 3 things play into your mental health, which honestly, I would say you would probably argue is much more important than any other aspect of health.
Yeah, I would
So,
agree. I just think that I think they're all important, obviously. I just think you can't have the other 3 without mental health.
yeah.
Like, I think they all feed into each other, for sure, but I feel like mental health is the mecca, the top of that feeds the other 3, because if you are depressed, working out is so much more difficult, eating optimally is so much more difficult, sleep can be so hard,
Mhm.
but, I mean, it does work by source of things, but
Yeah.
that's all I've got for you.
They're all connected. They're all connected, and that's also why, coming back to our concept that we shared with this episode, that's why we believe healthy is a verb. It's ever changing. You're always pulling levers to help you be the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. And what our goal as healthy is to always help you be the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. Actionable item for you guys. I always promise to leave you with one. Think about how you define health. What do you utilize to define health? Is it a metric? Is it a feeling? Is it something else that's near and dear to your heart? Let us know in the comments on whatever platform you're listening to, and leave us a rating and review if you can. We would love to hear from you guys, hear about how you define health and what you think about the podcast thus far. Thank you so much for tuning in.